South Africa's opposition parties say they really don't care about the ANC's decisions on Jacob Zuma's future. After Zuma goes, they say, Parliament must be dissolved to give South Africans an opportunity to choose new leaders in an early election.
It is the view of the collective that the ANC has been complicit in violating the constitution, in defending criminality, and therefore to request of South Africans to then sit back and insist that another person must come in from the ANC would be to undermine constitutionalism, and therefore we want to resort to Section 50 of the Constitution, which calls for a dissolution of Parliament, and ultimately that anybody who wants to lead the ANC or wants to lead Parliament or lead the people of South Africa must have a mandate from the people of South Africa.
It is important that Parliament be dissolved and we start from scratch. Because if he is replaced by his deputy, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, the same group of people that were protecting and defending corruption will still be there. We know that there is going to be a heavy price to pay, but we are willing, for the sake of the future prosperous South Africa, that we change the system right now.
The opposition collective says it cannot be part of what it calls the ANC's factional battles and won't simply accept Cyril Ramaphosa or any other ANC leader as the next president of South Africa.
We're not for Cyril. We don't want Cyril to be president. Cyril is like Zuma, they are the same. Cyril was part of the people who defended Zuma's wrongdoing and helped him to violate the constitution. The problem is not Zuma, the problem is not Cyril, the problem is the ANC. So the ANC must be voted out.
Opposition parties say it would be unrealistic to think that South Africa's problems would disappear after Jacob Zuma's rule. They say that will only happen once the ANC, South Africa's ruling party, is no longer in power. Rene, Carme, CGTN, Cape Town, South Africa.
Well, opposition parties clearly displaying little faith in not only Zuma but the ANC overall. Let's get more on their stance. I'm joined on the line from Cape Town by CGTN's Rene Carme. Rene, of course, as we saw there from your report, the opposition wants Parliament dissolved. But of course, the latest development is that Zuma has been issued with an official recall letter. What's their reaction to that?
Well, the EFF says that it had told the people of South Africa, including the media, that Jacob Zuma would not resign and he would not comply with the NEC's decision to recall him. They say at this stage it appears that the only way to remove Jacob Zuma would be through a vote of no confidence in Parliament. And according to South Africa's constitution, if the vote of no confidence is successful, then the president will have no choice but to resign. And the deputy president, as well as the entire cabinet, will be removed from their positions. A new president of South Africa will then be elected within 30 days.
Well, of course, that was originally scheduled for February 22nd, but opposition parties want that vote of no confidence brought forward to this week. Is that likely to happen?
Well, as you said in the report earlier, that the Speaker of the House has just under an hour to give the EFF and the rest of the opposition collective her response as to whether or not she will allow them to bring their vote of confidence forward to an urgent vote of confidence this week in the National Assembly. At this stage, they say they are still very much determined to go ahead in trying to get rid of a defiant Jacob Zuma through yet another vote of no confidence in him. He, of course, is a man who is known as a fighter, as a survivor, and he still refers to himself as a soldier. But the EFF and the opposition say they are determined to see that he is gone this week, whether or not his party convinces him at this late stage to full step down, or if it is through a vote of no confidence. Of course, this is the ninth vote of no confidence in Jacob Zuma since 2010. The question now, though, is whether or not the ANC will ask the EFF to set aside their call for a vote of no confidence so that the African National Congress, the ruling party, can hold its own vote of no confidence to get rid of their deployee, Jacob Zuma.
Well, indeed, Jacob Zuma, the ultimate political survivor thus far. Thanks very much, Rene, Carme, for that, joining us from Cape Town.